Change isn't just about strategy, it's about belief. We often talk about change as a goal, something we push for, campaign around, or try to implement. But real change doesn't start on a whiteboard. It starts in people's hearts. It begins when someone dares to say, "There's a better way, and I'm willing to go first." Most people resist change not because they don't care, but because they don't understand it. They don't see themselves in it. They don't feel safe inside it. If we want to create meaningful, lasting change, we have to stop pushing people through systems and start inviting them into stories, into something they can believe in, something they can be part of. Because change isn't forced, it's inspired. You don't change people by showing them a new process. You change people by showing them a new possibility, a future that's clearer, better, and more human. Change becomes possible when someone feels seen, when someone feels heard, when someone says, "You get me." You're not just changing what I do, you're changing how I feel about why I do it. So if you want to create change, real change, start by showing up differently, with empathy, with clarity, with courage. Change doesn't need a hero, it needs a leader who's willing to go first, to believe before anyone else does, and to walk the road before asking others to follow. That's how change begins. Not with control, but with conviction. Real change begins long before any strategy is put into place. It starts in the hearts and minds of those who are being asked to change. Change isn't something that simply happens because you present a plan. It happens when people believe in what that plan represents. If you want to create change, you have to connect it to something larger than just a set of tasks or a checklist. It's about making people believe that what you're asking them to do is meaningful, that it's aligned with their own values, and that it has the potential to lead to a better future. Without this belief, any strategy, no matter how brilliant, will fall flat. When people understand why change matters, when they feel a connection to the vision behind it, they become the true drivers of transformation. This belief doesn't come from being told what to do, it comes from being shown the bigger picture. It's about helping them see that their actions, no matter how small, are part of a greater purpose. And when you lead with this belief, the strategy becomes secondary. People will follow you, not because they have to, but because they want to. They will take ownership of the change because they see it not just as a task, but as an opportunity to make a real difference. Belief also creates resilience in the face of obstacles. Change is rarely easy, and when challenges arise, those who believe in the purpose behind the change are far more likely to persevere. When belief drives change, it creates a sense of commitment that can weather setbacks and adversity. A well-crafted strategy is necessary, but without belief, it's just a plan with no heart behind it. The moment people connect emotionally to the why behind the change, they will find the strength to navigate even the toughest hurdles. Belief is what fuels the momentum necessary to carry change from idea to reality, through every challenge that may arise along the way. When we talk about change, most people focus on the fear of the unknown, the uncertainty of what lies ahead. But the truth is, people don't fear change itself. They fear being left behind in the process. It's the feeling of being excluded, unprepared, or left out of the new direction that causes anxiety. Now, this fear can be much stronger than the fear of the change itself because it taps into something deeper. The fear of not belonging, of being overlooked, or being stuck in a system that's moving forward without them. People want to feel like they're part of something. They want to feel like they are growing with the change, not falling behind while others progress. For many, the fear of being left behind is tied to their sense of value and identity. When change happens, especially in a professional or organizational context, people may worry that they won't be able to adapt or that their skills will become irrelevant. This is particularly true when it feels like the pace of change is accelerating and the gap between those who adapt and those who don't widens. The fear isn't just about the change itself, but about the implications of being excluded from it. People want assurance that they will not only survive the change, but that they will thrive alongside it, growing and evolving as the landscape shifts. The key to overcoming this fear and fostering genuine buy-in is creating an environment where change is seen as a collective journey, not a solitary one. When you bring people along in the process, helping them feel involved and valued, the fear of being left behind starts to diminish. It's about showing them that they are not only part of the change, but that their contributions are essential to its success. Change is most powerful when it's a shared experience, and when people feel that their growth is tied to the organization's progress, they're far more likely to embrace the shift with confidence. A sense of inclusion and mutual support transforms fear into enthusiasm, and it builds the foundation for lasting, meaningful change. Change isn't something that magically happens when a new system or process is put in place. In fact, real change often begins long before the first new policy is implemented or new structure is built. It begins when an individual decides to show up differently. When one person within a group or organization chooses to embody the values, mindset, and behaviors necessary for change, it creates a ripple effect. That person becomes the living example of what is possible, and others begin to take notice. Change, therefore, doesn't start with a mandate. It starts with a personal commitment. When someone leads by example, they create a space where others feel empowered to follow suit. Showing up differently means more than just adjusting to a new system. It means shifting your mindset, your actions, and even your energy to align with a vision of change. It means having the courage to step outside your comfort zone, take risks, and model the behaviors that you want to see in others. It's about being the living proof that change is not only possible but worth embracing. This kind of personal transformation inspires others to reconsider their own approaches. It creates a sense of possibility that can spread like wildfire through a team, department, or entire organization. People are far more likely to embrace change when they see someone walking the walk, not just talking the talk. This personal shift is often the most powerful catalyst for change because it builds trust. Trust is essential when navigating any form of transformation, and it's built through consistent, authentic actions. When you show up differently, when you lead with integrity, courage, and clarity, it encourages others to believe in the possibility of change. It shows them that transformation isn't just something that happens to them, it's something they can actively participate in. And when they see one person stepping forward with courage and conviction, they start to believe they can too. The change begins to feel less like an external force and more like an invitation to step into a new way of being. So when you think about creating change, remember that it doesn't begin with grand strategies or sweeping systems. It begins with you. It begins with the choice to show up differently, to lead by example, to embody the values that you want to see in others. Real change is personal. It starts when one person dares to act in alignment with a vision, even when others may not see it yet. You don't need to wait for the perfect moment, the perfect plan, or the perfect circumstances. All you need is the courage to take that first step, and to lead by the example of your actions. The world is full of opportunities for change, but it's up to each of us to create the momentum that will transform not just our workplaces, but our communities, our relationships, and ourselves. Remember, change is not something that happens to you. It's something you create. And it starts with believing that you are the change. So step forward, lead with purpose, and watch as those around you are inspired to do the same. The change you wish to see in the world begins with the change you choose to create today. Thank you.